Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm sitting here with Cameron Selby, and we're going to be going over the Week 17 main slate. It's a 8-gamer, which is very odd for most main slates. Normally, it's at least 11 games, especially when there are no buys this week. So
Right.
we're catching an 8-gamer with no buys. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a bunch of quarterbacks we're going to talk about, but hopefully this narrowing down of games will help us get to the right chalk this time around.
Yeah, and there's not many things to look at from the total perspective. Every game's below 50, but Panthers Bucks 49 total is the highest on the slate.
Mm-hmm.
Packers Vikings is probably the most popular game. The stakes are massive because obviously trying to stay Minnesota at least is still in play for the 1 seed, but also trying to avoid being the 5 seed.
Right.
And then Green Bay is pretty much almost locked into the 6 seed if they do win one of the next two, if I remember correctly. I think they have the tiebreaker over the Commanders as of now. But yeah, these two teams went down to the wire in week 4. That was Jordan Love's first game back, if I remember correctly, and Minnesota jumped out to a huge lead early, but Minnesota really cleaned up in garbage time, and Jordan Love went for 389 and 4 touchdowns. And a bunch of people feasted because of that. So very interesting game. Jets Bills 46.5. You know, rivalry game. Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Fair.
Dallas and the Eagles, 4th highest total. Just keep an eye on that game because Jalen Hurts did get knocked out of the game with a concussion this past week. There's less than a 50% success rate of guys being able to return a week after, and the Eagles almost have locked up the division. So with that being said, I don't know if he plays, and if he doesn't, it's a true sicko game with Kenny Pickett
Yeah. Should be
losing a game against a
interesting.
team that had 5 turnovers and had a multi-score lead, and all the skill players he has, they still lost. So versus Cooper Rush, and then Colts Giants 40.5, but every other game is 40 from that point. So pick your game and value from there.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let me pull it up right now. I got to get the screen share going. Um, so our first quarterback on the board is Josh Allen, and just Josh Allen.
Yep.
We did this last week, and we meant it.
And the only thing I would say to add on to what we didn't put
Sure.
is just put in James Cook as well.
Sure.
He had another 30-point game, and he was the only reason that they ended up beating the Patriots at home as a 14-point favorite.
Right.
Had a 30-point game, and he's been incredible as a running back this year. So really these two guys are the only two to mention from Buffalo for a confidence perspective. But the Jets, in the last time that they did play in a really fun Monday night slate, I remember Josh Allen went for a rush touchdown through 2 touchdowns. That was the Ray Davis game where he went off. So James Cook's only game that he missed was where Ray Davis went for 150 all-purpose yards.
Yeah.
Didn't punch one in, but he returned massive value for us that slate, and we ended up cashing because of it.
Yeah, here's that New York Jets game. He had 24.4 for Josh Allen. As Cam said, James Cook was actually out, so we can't. There's no point, no score for that game for them. But going to the next game next team, Baker Mayfield 6,900. Baker's just a gunslinger, guys, and you like gunslingers in our lineups. I will say though, this is the 32nd ranked team against running backs, so both running backs are in play. Mike Evans is the most expensive receiver out of all the quarterbacks we're going to talk about, at least.
So this was a really fun slate. Last time they ended up playing, I think it was 4 weeks ago. Baker Mayfield didn't actually have a great game, but this game went to OT. Bucky Irving, this was his first breakout game where he had 185 all-purpose yards and just had a massive amount of touches. Ended up with 28 opportunities on the day. But even Rashad White as a 1B still had 14 opportunities and still went over 100 yards. So again, and then James Conner last week had 28 points in the first half before he got knocked out of the game with an injury. He was somebody that I called out in the main slate, ended up not playing, only played him one time.
Yeah, not enough.
And just not enough. It basically every running back went off, and it just didn't matter that Bijan had 24 because everybody else had 20 as well. So, but it is what it is. It was a really strong game from the Tampa run game, and then Bryce Young, his highest pass total of the year, 298 passing yards. Only had 1 touchdown, but he passing, but he had a rushing touchdown as well. And he's coming off his best game of the season where he had 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown as well. A whole lot of stackable pieces in this game. But Jalen McMillan really coming into his own as a player. Obviously, last night on Sunday Night Football, going off once again, but 3 games, 4 touchdowns,
Yep.
really wide receiver 2-esque role, and he's really winning you a lot of money if you're investing in him right now.
Yeah, we invested a lot of him in best ball,
Yep.
so he's helping us try to get to the finals.
And then for what it's worth, obviously Mike Evans, the narrative of him getting 100 or 1,000 yards for the 11th straight season, he is 182 yards away, so basically has to average at least 90 per game the rest of the way. So if there's somebody that's going to be going off and there's somebody to stack, it's a double stack between him, McMillan, Baker, or insert running back plus Mike Evans, because even though he only had 1 reception in the second half of last night's game versus Dallas,
Right.
he's still Mike Evans, and he still has the touchdown upside. And then also wanted to mention Cade Otton missed due to an injury. That was something that we didn't really expect because it kind of went overlooked. But Payne Durham, as minimum price play, had 7 targets, had 5 receptions. So him being less than $3,000 on the main slate, he's in play as well if you wanted to get very, very different from a tournament perspective.
Yeah, luckily they did price him somewhat up. I mean, not 2,500, so you're still having to get a little bit of salary. And then going to the next guy, we got Jordan Love. He's 6,200. I never, going into the year, you never thought Jordan Love would be $700 cheaper than Mr. Baker Mayfield. But Josh Jacobs is his running back. He has been awesome. He just scored a touchdown earlier. We're recording this on Monday, so he just scored.
So he scored at least 20 fantasy points in 5 straight games, and then tonight, obviously, we're through the halfway point of the game as we're recording this, and he has 86 yards and a touchdown through a quarter and a half. Chris Brooks vultured his touchdown just now, but they're up 21-0 on the Saints. But Minnesota, actually a tough matchup. So him being 81, that's I think his season high in price.
Gotta be
tough to get to, but he's been as consistent as they have been. And a lot of the running backs that we've been investing in throughout the year are not on this slate because it's only an 8-gamer. So he's in the pool. Jaden Reed, last time they played Minnesota, 7 for 134 in a score. Dontayvion Wicks also scored. Tucker Kraft had a really solid game as well. I think Christian Watson that was a game that he hurt his ankle, so he got knocked out early. All worth mentioning. It's really hard to dissect this Green Bay passing room, but Minnesota, dead last against receivers. Quarterbacks they're okay against, but again, like I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the totals, Jordan Love nearly threw for 400 yards in garbage time. It really comes down to how you think this game script's going to go. But Minnesota, I think, is a 1-point favorite. So it's basically a pick 'em. Really fun environment and game to get to, but basically a lot of people that you really want are priced up.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just have such a hard time sorting through the receivers.
Yes.
Is my biggest problem with this team. But going on to the next one, we have Anthony Richardson. And Jonathan Taylor had himself a absolute day.
Yeah, shout out to him helping me advance in 2 of my leagues that I'm going to the championship in out of 4. Going for 203 touchdowns, responding after basically literally dropping the ball at the 1-yard line and costing a lot of people last week or the previous week. But Anthony Richardson was a high value from a quarterback perspective. And Alex Pierce was out. I don't know if we would have ended up playing him or talking much about him on the Sunday Live if we had it this week, but he did really well. And against the Giants are really bad against the run.
Right.
Indy's favored. So he's basically a running back that can also throw. I don't even know if you need to stack him, but 5,900 still reasonable price.
Yeah, for sure. I probably wouldn't stack him, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, all of them are below 5,000. I think that one's slightly more like dissectable.
Yeah.
Compared to Green Bay, who we just talked about, because at least when Josh Downs is in, he's been their wide receiver 1. And obviously this past week, returning from injury, he played only 58% of the snaps, but he scored a touchdown. Didn't have a whole lot of opportunities, though. Adonai Mitchell actually played 89% of the snaps, which was by far the most this season. And Michael Pittman Jr., 98% of the snaps. He just is not playing well right now.
I was going to say also the wide receiver with the Josh Downs is one of the highest values on the slate for wide receivers. So it makes sense. Excuse me. Going on to the next one, it's Bryce Young. Cam kind of alluded to him earlier, but he had one of his best games of his career this last week. And Adam Thielen, his price is getting bumped, which is great to see. Chuba Hubbard went to 7,000 finally. He's been one of our staples this year, so it's looking up in Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina, again, another good matchup. And Cooper Rush was, if it weren't for them being up 9 the entire fourth quarter and him not really having to throw, he would have gone for 300 yards
Right.
and a couple touchdowns against Tampa this past week. But the thing that's kind of been a little bit more clouded with Carolina is that since Jatavion Sanders was injured and he's come back, Tommy Tremble's still been out snapping him. So basically, tight end, you can just X out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jalen Coker and David Moore have traded good games. Xavier Leggett missed this past week. He's a true game time decision because it's an unknown. It was a hip injury that he was limited and just didn't play or practice. Who knows if he'll play, but if he doesn't, that just kind of opens them up to save some salary. But
Right.
really, it's kind of similar to what I would have told about if we were stacking him this past week, was just put in Bryce Young, put in Chuba Hubbard, put in Adam Thielen, and just live.
Yep, that's completely agree with that. You could take a dart throw, but if you
Coker
don't
went
have
for
to.
100 yards the past week, but then David Moore this past week. Again, I mentioned I know he scored a touchdown. He only had 2 for 39 in the score, but he is still under $4,000. So another salary relief, and he did play 90% of the snaps for what it's worth.
Fair. Okay, so clear that, and we'll go over to Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, and again, similar, straightforward. You're basically just picking the top options. And this past week it wouldn't worked because Jacoby Myers had a dud, but Brock Bowers went back to his usual self that we know and love and having nearly 100 yards and over 10 targets. But 6,700, his season high price. You really got to take a stand on that. But bring back options are going to be relatively cheap.
Right.
I don't expect Alvin Kamara to be back the rest of the season. I think they'll just kind of be tanking the rest of the way. Kendrick Miller hasn't been priced up, so 5,500. And then a bunch of cheap receivers. Maybe a Chris Olave is back, and even if he is back, being $5,200, pretty reasonable price as well. So stackable or bring back options, and really it's just Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. You can insert either running back. They basically split reps. They each scored a touchdown. I don't know how to pick a preference between the two. I'm actually interested if one had more snaps than the other. They 57-43 in favor of Alexander Madison, who's priced up higher. That's just kind of is what it is. They're going to be low owned.
I'm not confident in either of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather get to somewhere else, but I did want to put them up there just to talk about them. Mason Rudolph, he had a hell of a ball. I don't know if you saw it, but he had a great ball over to.
So he took over for Will Levis, who was benched the rest of the way, and obviously they were playing catch up against the Colts. He did throw 3 interceptions, but threw for 250 yards, and reasonable that he's $5,000, and Jacksonville's just bad against everything. Worth noting, Tajay Spears back-to-back games with 2 touchdowns, and on top of that, he outsnapped Tony Pollard in this last game. Tony Pollard's back-to-back weeks where he didn't practice the entire week but played anyways.
Right.
Had one good game this past week. Obviously, was a dud in favor of Tajay Spears. Really hard to invest in either one, just knowing that they're going to split work, and you'd expect some kind of positive or negative regression because Tajay Spears averaging what is that, less than 2.5 yards a carry, but just punching 4 touchdowns in 2 weeks because of his pass catching upside. He's priced up to 54, so really not touching either one. It's mainly just Calvin Ridley who's getting all the snaps, and he just has had back-to-back games with only 5 targets, so reasonable price. Nick Westbrook-Akine having 9 touchdowns on 25 catches. I'm sorry. Giving him a little bit more credit. One of the most random seasons, but I can invest in him at 4,500. Chico Conquo, though, back-to-back weeks, over 10 targets.
Yeah, he's an investable
8
guy.
for 59 and then 9 for 81. His price didn't really increase. Don't know why, but if I'm going to go any kind of route of a Mason double, which nobody's going to do, it's probably Chig and Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me pull that one off, and I think we have one more.
No, that's it.
That's it. Okay,
Yes, sir.
5,000. All right, that's the lowest we're going this week. Not 4,500 again.
No. Yeah, we're not going to touch DTR, but I will say that DTR does have a calf injury, so he is worth noting because if he's not playing,
Please put Jameson.
put in Jameis.
Please.
And we'll just literally play every single line with Jameis Winston, Judy, and just call it a day.
Fine. What is this price? Let's see.
48.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Free. Got it.
We'll find out Sunday morning if we're going to be able to just put all of our eggs in the Mr. Jameis Winston basket.
which is what I want to do.
Yeah.
But looking up there, who is your favorite quarterback? Where do you want to go?
Uh, my favorite game environment is probably Carolina Tampa Bay. So I think
Okay.
I'd prefer to start with one of those. Do you have a preference between Bryce Young and Mr. Baker Mayfield?
Baker.
All right.
Yeah, give me Baker.
All right. So the question is, because Jalen McMillan is killing it, he's one of the highest values. Do we go double receiver or do we do Mike Evans and insert
I'd
Bucky
like to
Irving?
go double receiver.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Well, that's going to be interesting also because I think Bucky, if I had to guess, because he's 6,700, he's showing as 16% owned. I bet you he gets to become one of the 3 or 4 highest owned running backs on this slate because it's only an 8 gamer, and up top it's Saquon, it's Josh Jacobs, it's Jonathan Taylor, and HN,
Yeah,
and then it just is a huge drop from there.
that's fair. But there are
But yeah.
what bring back do you want?
Bring
I
back,
just don't know about Bucky. Like I'd rather play.
I think bring
They
back
keep that
wise,
money.
just make it simple and to save Adam Thielen, because 7,000. We're already spending 69 on Baker and 75 on Mike. It's going to make it tough if we went with a Chuba Hubbard build.
It's fine. We have a defense.
Cheap defense. If Dallas plays Kenny Pickett, they're going in a lot of my lines
Fair.
because they've been playing very well. Obviously,
We expect them to.
yeah.
So.
So let's just pretend that
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts misses because of a concussion, and then let's build the rest of our line.
So running back, there are some good ones. You know, we didn't really go over it, but Saquon is one of the guys we have to talk about. We talked about JT, Achan, James Cook, Chuba, Bucky.
Yeah, so Devon Achane, not in a great spot, but guess what? He's been averaging less than 4 yards a carry this year, and he's still a top 5 running back because he gets wide receiver 2 and even 1 workload in terms of targets. Look at those targets, baby.
That's insane.
Jalen Waddle missed this past week due to a knee injury, and I don't expect him to play the rest of the season either. So Devon Achane is wide receiver 2 in a running back 1's body or eligibility. He finally had his like a boom week
Right.
that we've been expecting to, and a lot of it had to do with him getting that late 100 or 50-yard touchdown to put him over the 100-yard bonus. Like him a lot, but he's expensive.
So is Saquon, but I like him too.
Yeah, so is Jonathan Taylor, but I like him too. Or
Okay.
James Cook.
So do you have
I
a
want to pick
lean?
one in there. My lean says because Indy is still fighting, they have to win to make the playoffs. They have to win out. So I would probably side with Jonathan Taylor.
Okay. New York now, right?
Probably not.
Okay, we'll
I
stay
mean,
with
if
the
anything,
Giants.
it's Malik Neighbors, but he's 66. I don't know if we can fit him in this one.
Hmm.
I would say cheap tight end though.
Okay.
Highest value wise, again, it's Jake Ferguson, still below 4,000.
3,700. Yeah.
Jawan Johnson's popping, but it's uncomfortable.
I'd rather play
I'd-
Tucker Craft.
I'd probably say Chiga Conquo.
Okay.
Just ride the wave with him.
Fair enough. 11 targets, freaking
Mm-hmm.
craziness, and they're playing Jacksonville. Do we want a Jacksonville player? I know a guy.
Dude,
he's
his
been
name?
playing like crazy.
What's his name?
Look at this guy's numbers, man. It's just
Yep.
2 weeks in a row over 30 fantasy points. Brian Thomas Jr., one of the best rookie receivers. We knew that coming into the year. He's a top 4 guy from the draft in general, but he has been playing
I think
like
it's
an alpha.
very impressive that he's still producing and being utilized like a wide receiver 1, even without Trevor Lawrence, because I thought once Mac Jones got in there, he'd just kind of be
Man.
modest. But because Christian Kirk being out for the year, Evan Ingram being out for the year, and then the running game just being bad in general, they've got no other options, and he is coming through. I'm really interested to see what his what the end of the year is going to do to his draft stock next year, because if he ends up becoming a 3rd-round pick or more, that's going to be really, really tough to get a lot of exposure to him next year.
I'll probably just fade him at that point, unfortunately. It is what it is. I mean, you can't pick everybody, you know?
You can't.
You can't pick everybody.
But if you're averaging 12 targets a game with Mac Jones and scoring 9 touchdowns as a rookie, I don't know, man.
It's pretty good football, man.
Yeah.
But do you want to throw him in this line?
That's going to leave us less than 5,000 for a running back. So,
Gross.
there's not really a ton that's sticking out value-wise. I wrote down Devin Singletary because Tyron Tracy got rolled up on towards the end. And so if he's out, being 4,200 as a bring back possibly, I'm interested in at that point. Or if you wanted to paint the narrative of, hey, they're done they're going to tank, put in Eric Gray. He's 4,000 also. So,
Mhm.
that's a wait and see thing, especially if Tyrone Tracy, whether or not he plays. Um, and then I
Mhm.
also mentioned Kendra Miller at 5,500,
Yeah, he's pretty good price.
and it's a better matchup against the
The
or
Raiders.
not necessarily a better matchup, but at this point the Raiders really don't want to win back to back games towards the end of the season because you know what they're about to do, and it's not going to make you too happy.
We're gonna. Well, I said they were gonna win. I picked them to win in our.
Okay.
We didn't actually have that video, but they were my. I had them
Well,
winning in that video.
the
Right?
funny thing is that a lot of people are like they screwed themselves, and I'm like the
No,
Raiders are aggressive enough and they're capable enough to where they're going to trade up.
I hope not.
No, I know you hope not, but they're going to. I
No.
don't expect if the draft order stays as it is and the Patriots are number 2 and they're obviously not going quarterback, I guarantee you they're going to pay more of a premium than Tennessee to get either Cam Ward or Shadur, and I bet you it goes 1-2 with Cam Ward and Shadur if it came down to it, and you're just going to have to live with not only investing in Shadur Sanders but giving up multiple first rounder picks to get him as well. It's going to be tough.
It's not gonna happen.
Okay,
Just
we'll
saying.
see.
It's not gonna happen.
We'll see.
We're
We'll
talking it.
save
We're
the
talking
tape.
it to an existence. We're speaking it into existence right now.
I don't know. You,
um, but no, I did take out Brian Thomas, even
okay,
knowing I
so
do love
we
him.
got about 5,800 as the last guy in. Devontae Smith typically has a good track record against Dallas, but I'm not as interested if Mr. Kenny Pickett is the quarterback. But it is worth noting that literally they didn't do anything else other than just target A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley the rest of the way when he did come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can do Calvin Ridley as a standalone play. Or no,
He's
because
not.
that would be
Yeah.
two tight
Unfortunately,
ends.
he's not. I hate this range. What do I want to get to?
What if we got
Kobe
100
Myers?
more to get to Jaden Reed,
I'd rather 200 more.
to Jacoby?
Yeah. I'm more confident in Jacoby than I am Jaden Reed.
I mean, you're not wrong. You are not wrong.
I have a New Orleans player.
Huh. Okay, so how are we going to save some money?
Unfortunately, it probably would be JT to HN.
Okay.
I think.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say unfortunately. I
Well,
still view them all in the same box and all the same light.
yeah.
In terms of ownership wise, see, it's saying Kamara is the most popular.
Oh,
I
it
don't.
doesn't know yet.
He's
Yeah.
not going to play.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
will not play.
Fair.
Devon Achane is the most popular running back outside of him, though.
Okay.
But again, we're getting a little different in other directions.
I'm playing his backup in this line, literally Kamara's backup. So
Yep.
I think it's going to be okay. I think that this line makes sense. Like, double stacking with a bring back Raiders, New Orleans, and then getting standalone players in Miami and Chicago.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's cool. It's a good line.
very fun.
Do you have another spot you want to get to quarterback wise that you have to get to? Come on, tell me.
Let's be fun and pretend that Jameis is going to start again and see what we can do.
All right, craziness.
Because we're obviously going to play Devon in that
Play
regard.
HN. Yeah.
But Jerry Judy's price went down a little bit because they're playing. Hey, he's
Number
playing
one
with DTR.
overall team against.
Yeah. So, and then on top of that, David Njoku re-aggravated his injury. Jordan Akins is only 2,700. Also, Cedric Tillman's missed 3 straight games with a concussion, but his price hasn't moved. He's 4,900. Still reasonable. Elijah Moore went down to 43. A lot of them are worthy of being a secondary stack option with Jerry Jeudy. Do you have a preference?
I mean,
Or do you really want to just pretend that Njoku's out and just go way down to Jordan Akins?
well, I was hoping. No, I think that I'd rather go to Elijah Moore, expecting Cedric Tillman to be out again.
You think he'll be out again?
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, if it's that bad, those head injuries are tough. So,
Right. Okay.
but we don't. I mean, we can play
Sorry,
49.
we're playing pretend from here. We have money. What do you want to do with it?
We'll do it.
Go Cowboy again?
Yeah, that one we're expecting.
Okay. Receiver wise,
I just
up top,
Can't
is
do
there
that,
anybody that it really kind of speaks to you? I know Mike Evans, we just played in a line. CD, not a great matchup.
Devontae
but
Adams.
74. Devontae Adams, 71.
is super interesting. He's been also well. I mean, Brian Thomas is also
He's been a
$300
league
cheaper.
winner.
He's also $300 cheaper. but he's been really, really good.
Hmm.
So Devontae Adams is
And
interesting.
it is worth mentioning he obviously wasn't there when Buffalo and the Jets first played,
Right.
but both Garrett Wilson and Alan Lazard both had a touchdown and went over 100 yards in their last matchup against Buffalo. And Buffalo has been pretty bad against,
Hmm.
as a defense, against good offenses. So
Right.
with the Jets being able to move the ball more recently, at least, him being 71, I don't know why his price didn't jump at all.
He's interesting.
But
Brian Thomas is interesting still. Just
put
saying.
them both in and see what we can do.
So, okay. Well, I'm going to put Chig in,
Yeah. Watch that salary balloon. Mm.
and that's 68.
And that's enough for
Bucky
Bucky.
Irving. Okay. How about that?
It's all over the place, but
How's that sound?
we're here for it.
No, it's a double
Here-
stack. Miami bring back. Got
then
Jacksonville, Tennessee.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, no, we did good. We did
Okay.
good.
That's a really fun. We're playing if then.
Yeah.
With DTR being out, but we're praying to the fantasy gods that
Please.
that
Give me
happens, 'cause
Jameis.
DTR is so bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, they couldn't even move the ball. He was terrible.
He did have a rushing touchdown though, so. But I can't stack him.
So
if
did
he
Mac
does
Jones in his one game with Trevor Lawrence out earlier in the year before, and then Trevor came back.
play. Right.
Mac Jones had a rushing touchdown.
It's a cool thing.
Okay,
All right. Is there another quarterback you want to build before we go?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen with James or just
No,
as a
by
standard?
himself.
Okay.
I want to put best players in this line. Just
Okay.
best
Well-
value, everything.
Throw Dallas in one more time.
I'm probably just gonna stick with Chig
Okay.
and say it's okay, and
Do
then
we bring
just
back a Devontae?
sure. Okay.
All right.
And then running back wise, I think my favorite running back is going to be Kendre, price wise,
Yeah.
to get the most bang for
And
the
then
buck.
another guy I want to mention, Aaron Jones, being 62, his price is dropping. But last time he played the Packers, obviously the narrative of the revenge game, he had over 100 all-purpose yards. He just didn't score, but a very, very solid outing in Week 4. Had 5 targets, 46 receiving yards. Again, he had 149 yards
Mm-hmm.
or 139 yards. He just didn't hit the bonus. He didn't score, but 18 points, very solid. And he's getting all the workload as a running back. They're at home, 5-box running back. 6,200 is pretty reasonable to me.
Okay, I'm not
And
against
he's
that.
showing us the highest value among all running backs right now.
Well, then we'll just put him in.
Let's do it.
Why not? Then we have 5,500 for 3 players.
Okay.
Who is our favorite cheap player?
Okay. Cheap guy.
Who is our favorite cheap player?
I like I don't know. It's gonna make us uncomfortable not getting as much Jalen McMillan. But
Yeah,
he's
fair.
4,600, man. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
6,000 left. Receiver wise, in that mid K
Mid range.
mid range, still Jacoby Myers. I mentioned Devontae Smith earlier. Adam Thielen we've played already. Calvin Ridley, but we're not playing. Obviously, if we go Chig. Oh, and Jaden Reed obviously is a bring back to Aaron Jones.
Right.
That low 5K range is tough. this
Yeah, it is. Is there a running back?
I think
Well,
probably my preference, without thinking about it, is just going Jacoby again and going Jaden Reed as a bring back and just hoping that he has his 100-yard game again against Minnesota.
Can we go really cheap on this one?
Really cheap. How cheap?
Like cheap,
Coker?
like that cheap, and
And then going to HN.
yeah. I mean, that's just how it naturally worked out. We don't have to go. I mean, HN would fit here.
Mhm.
$200 more, you get to, we can find something. But like, I think Coker is my preferred over David Moore.
Yeah.
And then you get the bring back in that game. Buffalo bring
Well,
back.
Like I said, Jalen Coker, he was pretty. I wouldn't say chalky, but he was pretty highly owned as a cheap play this past week. He still played 82% of snaps. He just didn't have a ton of targets.
Hey.
But 4,300, 82% of snaps back to back weeks. Not bad.
He's a rookie.
He's
And
had 5 targets in 4 of the last 5 games also.
yeah, and he was out for a little while, but
Best
he's
matchup
been really
against
good.
receivers.
So
All that
please.
stuff. Sure.
And then on the other
And-
side, you get McMillan.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then Buffalo, New York Jets, because that's a weird stack, but it's it's doing its thing. But otherwise, we're pretty open on this whole thing here. I think it's a
Stuff
cool
though.
line though. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, as That was quick today. Appreciate y'all
Well, I
hanging
mean,
out with
it's
us.
really quick when it's only eight games to go through, you know.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah, appreciate y'all hanging out with us though. We have I don't know. We have a Saturday slate that's out. So go check that out. Oh well, maybe.
well, we probably won't be doing a shoot because again, we're doing this as a Monday because of Christmas being early in the week. We usually record on Tuesdays, but it's still not out, so we probably won't do a video for it. But we will do lines for it because we love making lines for every single contest. It's really fun. It's the most fun way to play and most unique way to be different from other content creators because everybody just wants to talk about the main and then say how they're manipulating their 150 builds that they let the computer build for them. We hand build just like you guys likely do, and just show you the thought process of how we do things, which is a whole lot of fun. But this Sunday, last live stream of the regular season, so please show out for it. Hopefully, you're in your league championship or
Yeah.
in the best ball finals, and hopefully, you win a lot of money because of it. But yeah, we'd love to see you join. Any kind of last minute questions, and then also check out our Christmas slate, our showdown slate, and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us, and we will see y'all on the next one.